Am I wrong for not inviting my sister to my wedding? I, 27 female, have been married to my husband Jay for over 10 years. We got married 6 years ago, but only did it through the court and we never had a wedding. We always said later, but timing was not on our side. Well, it finally is. We decided to have our wedding ceremony and reception later this year and invite our close friends and family. We were doing our guest list and decided that my older sister would not be invited. She has been a toxic person in my life since I can remember. When I started dating Jay, she used to tell him that he could do so much better than me. I've never been someone that wears a lot of makeup, and Jay has always known this. She used to tell me that he was going to leave me because I didn't take care of myself. I suffer from an eating disorder and have been impatient. She told Jay that I was crazy and shouldn't be dealing with me and should just leave me. When I was at said impatient, she tried to use me to get an excuse for her job so she wouldn't have to do something she didn't want to, all under the pretense of helping with our girls. This was my second day there. When I told her I couldn't, she called me selfish and why couldn't I do this for her? I didn't reach out for the 2 months I was in there, and just so much more. As the years have gone by, Jay has stood up for me time and time again and doesn't let her run over me. This is something I've had trouble with. She hates this. She mentioned one time that he shouldn't get involved in sister matters. We had a traumatic childhood, so I felt like we just had to be close. I think it's part of why I've had such a hard time cutting her off. Anyways, last Thanksgiving we got into a fight. Jay and I tried to have a civilized conversation and put all differences aside and move forward. It did not go well and she played victim at all times. Jay and I knew we tried. She brushed it under the rug and a few days later was back to normal. After that, a month later, Jay and I had to leave for 2 months for a training and I stayed alone with my 2 girls. She made all these promises of coming to visit us and keep us company, and so did her husband. They ended up coming to our state and then kept making up excuses as to why they couldn't come. She didn't talk to me until she was back to the state she lives in. I was annoyed because they also promised my 6-year-old and then just left her hanging. After they went back, she texted twice and I briefly answered once since I was annoyed and honestly didn't want to get into a fight. A week and a half after the text, the girls and I got into a car accident. Car was totaled and it wasn't pretty. Thankfully, the girls had minor injuries. She never reached out, never cared. My mom and younger sister came to help and called her in FaceTime and she gave me an attitude. It was like something clicked and I was just done. She's a negative and toxic person for me, blood related or not. Obviously, I told my family she will not be invited and they know everything, but they still want me to be the bigger person because she's your sister no matter what, and just be the bigger person again. I've stood my ground, but am I the asshole? Update. We had the wedding this weekend and it was everything we could have wished for and more. We were so happy to finally have this day and share it with our loved ones. These past few months I've been in therapy to deal with just different things, and obviously the topic of my family has come up. My sister and I actually had a talk about a month and a half ago, just her and I. She apologized for a lot of things which she has never done before, so I appreciated that. We also realized that this was the first time we actually sat down to talk, just her and I. No one else involved. My mom would usually want to be there and then meddle, then send messages back and forth, but it was never what me and my sister said. We realized my mom had a lot to do with our relationship and how it went. She knew some of her actions were toxic, and that's when she apologized about it, and we had a genuine talk about it. Afterwards, we talked at least weekly, and you could feel the difference now that we had talked about everything. She ended up coming to the wedding, and there was no drama at all. We really had the best time, and everyone got along perfectly. Aww! Thank you for all the support. Oh, that's so sweet! Best update ever! Am I wrong for wanting to tell my aunt that her husband is my dad? If you've read the title, then you can probably understand why my head is spinning so much right now. I, 19 female, and the product of my mom, 40 female, sleeping with her best friends Eve, 39 female, boyfriend turned husband Adam, 40 male. According to my mom, it only happened once, and they immediately regretted the act the next day when they were sober. They swore to never speak of this and continue living as if it never happened because they didn't want Eve to walk away from them. That's freaking selfish. Around the time that my mom got pregnant with me, the flu was going around, so when she first started feeling the symptoms of pregnancies, she assumed it was the flu. However, when the symptoms lasted for weeks, my Aunt Eve convinced her to go see a doctor and was with my mom when the doctors told her she was pregnant. Apparently, she was too far along to do anything else but have me, and Uncle Adam was upset when my mom changed her mind about adoption. It got to a point where Aunt Eve threatened to break up with him if Uncle Adam didn't stop telling my mom that she'd be a horrible mother. My mom had no family support, so Aunt Eve and her family were there for me and my mom a lot. Hence why I call her Aunt Eve, and she's even my godmother. I was a flower girl at Aunt Eve and Uncle Adam's wedding. I love my Aunt Eve very much and consider her a second mother. I was devastated when I found out the truth my mom privately confessed to me while she was drunk and didn't remember it the next morning. My mom tried to play it off, but I secretly took some of Uncle Adam's DNA and sent it in for testing. I angrily confronted my mom and told her what I did when she tried to deny it. Later on, Uncle Adam and my mom sat me down and apologized for what they've done, but since he was around as my uncle growing up, there was no real harm done and asked me to keep it a secret. When I showed hesitation, my mom brought up how awful Aunt Eve would feel, not only at her best friend's and husband's betrayal, but that she was able to give him the bio child Aunt Eve couldn't. My Aunt Eve survived cancer, but at the cost of her own fertility, and struggled with therapy for years over it. I didn't want to hurt Aunt Eve, so I tearfully agreed. I've been holding on to the secret since Thanksgiving, and with Christmas rolling around, I know Aunt Eve is expecting me. My mom understands that this is a lot for me and will cover for me if I decide not to see or speak to Aunt Eve for a while, but honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to see her again. I don't know how I can spend the rest of our lives being around her and not eventually saying something. My mom said that it's a bad idea and that there's nothing positive to gain. She said that Uncle Adam has never had an interest in being my dad, so why would he be one to me if I reveal the secret and cause problems in his marriage? And that while Aunt Eve may still love me, there's no guarantee that she'll still want to be around me. I don't know what to do, so am I the asshole for wanting to tell? Am I wrong for not accepting my sister's relationship with my ex despite her having cancer as a teenager? My 25 female father married my stepsister's 23 female's mom when I was 4 and she was 3. We've lived together for most of our lives and are a family. She and I were extremely close. She developed cancer when she was 14 and was sick for about 2 years. During that time, my parents became understandably overprotective. They also asked a lot of me. I quit my extracurriculars so that I could get a job, the money went towards her medical bills, and so I could drive her to appointments. I didn't go to dances, and any fun activities I did needed to include her. I did almost all of this willingly, the exception being having to quit my high school volleyball team. I did throw a bit of a tantrum about that, but was swiftly punished. And I think having one emotional breakdown was pretty chill given the circumstances. Anyhow, I go to college and meet my ex, we'll call him Ben, when I was a junior. We fall in love, blah blah blah. He and I move in together when we graduate, so we've been living together for about 3 years. We were serious until July when I walked into my bedroom and saw him sleeping with my sister. I broke it off, tears were shed, he moved out, etc. My sister apologized at first, but then backed off. I thought she was going to give me space, but last week she called and asked if we could meet up. She told me that she and Ben were in love and were just telling me as a courtesy before they started posting photos online. You gave up your fucking volleyball career for her? Distraught, I left her in the restaurant by herself and did not pay my portion of the bill. She later Venmoed me asking me for the money. You can steal my man, the least you can do is pay for my food. Like common courtesy. She then told my parents, who called me to their house, telling me how disappointed they are in me for not supporting my sister's relationship with Ben. They brought up the fact that because she had cancer as a teenager, she never learned proper social etiquette and has a hard time meeting people. Oh my god, no! I don't buy this, in part because I've seen her socialize just fine, and since we spent a good chunk of the time she was sick together. That would mean that I should have had bad social skills as well by that logic. They then told me that if I don't accept my sister and Ben's relationship, they may have to go no contact with me. I reminded them that I'm also their daughter and they should understand my point of view, but they are adamant that this is about me being jealous of her. For the record, I'm not jealous of her. I'm not upset that Ben picked her over me. I'm sad about the end of the relationship and do feel betrayed. But Lord knows that I don't want to be with a cheater. What I'm sad about is the fact that my sister chose Ben over me. That she slept with Ben knowing he and I were in a long-term committed relationship and continues to be with him knowing how much it hurts me. Now, no one in my immediate family is talking to me and I'm getting messages from my aunts, uncles, and cousins telling me that I'm an asshole and a selfish bitch. So, am I an asshole?
My boyfriend confessed to me that he's attracted to guys. What should I do? Disclaimers in my story time is sending me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 4 years. 4 years. As you can imagine, his confession was a shock to me. 3 nights ago while we were doing the dirty, he asked me to do some stuff to his bum. And I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I'm not into that, so I said no. After we were done, he asked me why I didn't do it. I told him that it made me feel like it would emasculate him in front of my eyes, and that the thought of him even wanting to do that stuff was a really bad turnoff. Then he said, "Oh, okay." But the look on his face was weird. I asked him why he wanted that. That's when he said to me that he had been thinking about experimenting. Then he asked me what I thought about it. I told him that I really wasn't into that particular thing, but that we could try other stuff if he wanted to. He then changed the conversation and we didn't touch the topic again. But something made me keep thinking about it. So I took his phone and I started going through his search history. And guess what I found? In his search history, it said, "How do I tell my girlfriend I'm attracted to guys?" I nearly pooped my pants. I'm not even kidding. I ran to the toilet and pooped. I was sick to my stomach. Part 2 is up. My boyfriend confessed that he's attracted to guys. What should I do? Disclaimers on my story time is sending me on Instagram. After I saw his search history on his phone, I nearly pooped my pants. But luckily I made it to the toilet in time. By the way, he was napping on the couch while I was looking at his phone. So I decided to take it a step further and get on his laptop. I started looking at his search history and that's when I found it. A link to Reddit. And it was a bunch of people talking about how they came out to their girlfriends as bi or gay. This is when I really started flipping out. Thought maybe he was gonna try to tell me that he was gay or something. A little backstory on him and I. Like I said in part 1, we've been together for 4 4 years. This is a really, really long time. We've talked about marriage and everything. We even went to look at engagement rings at Tiffany's. Families love each other and I hang out with his parents all the time. And I've never, ever gotten the sense that he might be attracted to guys. After I found the search history on his laptop, I woke him up from his nap. While holding his laptop, looks at his laptop and then he looks at me. That's when he said, "There's something I need to tell you." And that's when he says it. I'm attracted to guys. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend confessed that he's attracted to guys. What should I do? Disclaimer's done by Storytime and sent me on Instagram. After his confession, I threw his laptop at him. Then he starts explaining himself. He said that he's only been attracted to guys for a few months and that he had been meaning to tell me, but he wasn't sure if he really was attracted or not. That's when I asked him if he was gay or just bi. He said that he thought he was bi because he was still attracted to me. Then I asked him if he had cheated on me with another guy. He stayed quiet for about 10 seconds and finally said no. The fact that he didn't reply right away meant to me that he was lying, and I don't know what to believe anymore. But of course, he asked me not to tell anybody. But it gets worse. He asked me if we could do a threesome. I said no right away. Then he told me that I was being closed off. And that if I really loved him, that I need to experiment with him because otherwise he's gonna go and do it on his own. Honestly, to me, this is just a threat. I don't want to do it with somebody else in the room with us, and I don't want him to be bi. When we first got together, he was completely straight. So now you're telling me I have to worry about guys and girls? He keeps on insisting to do it. What should I do? Is it normal that my father still hits me even as an adult? Disclaimer, this is not my story time, was sent me on Instagram. When I was a kid and I got in trouble, my dad would hit me. I always knew to expect it, so it wasn't a really big deal. But of course, I would do my best to stay out of trouble. Sometimes he would use a belt and sometimes he would slap me across the face. The slapping was the worst part. From the ages of 10 to 12, I didn't really get hit because I never got in trouble. When I turned 14, things started getting rough. I wanted to date boys and my dad was not having it. So his form of punishment sometimes was even taking food away from me. This happened on 2 occasions when I was 14 and I almost ran away because of it. I know most of you are thinking that my mom should have stepped in, but my mom was pretty afraid of my dad too. Sometimes I feel like my parents have brainwashed me into thinking that what my dad is doing is fine. The sad part is that I'm now 20 and my dad still hits me from time to time. I do have to say my father has always been there for me. He's provided me with a great life and a good education. And it's not like he would just hit me out of nowhere. It was only when I got in trouble and for specific reasons. But I do think he needs to stop it because I'm 20 now. Here's where things get really messy. I just got engaged and my fiance hates my father. Follow for part 2. Is it normal that my father still hits me as an adult? Now that I'm 20 and engaged, I told my fiance about what my father did. Like I said, my father wouldn't just hit me out of nowhere. He would only do it when he was punishing me and for specific reasons. But my fiance loathes my father. He thinks it's abuse and that it wasn't a normal thing for me to have to endure as a child, especially as an adult. And I've only come to realize that what my dad is doing is probably wrong because of my fiance. Before that, I never had anybody in my life tell me that what my dad was doing was wrong. But here's what happened. My fiance and I were cooking in my parents' kitchen. My dad must have been in a really bad mood because he comes into the kitchen and says, "If you don't clean up this mess, I'm gonna show your fiance how I slap the shit out of you." My father had never shown that side of him in front of my fiance. But as soon as those words came out of my father's mouth, my fiance turned to him and said, "You will never put your hands on her again." And my dad said, "That's my daughter and I can do whatever I want." My fiance asked me to leave with him and I did. My mom called us and begged us to come back, but my fiance said no. Part 3 is it normal that my father still hits me as an adult? After my fiance stood up to my dad, we didn't speak to my family for about 2 months. That's when my fiance asked me to go to therapy. And I did. That's when I found out that what I really needed to do was fix my relationship with my father. Because he had always punished me physically, I held a lot of resentment towards him. And my father being very antiquated, he thought that he was doing the right thing. Now let me clear a few things up. He only hit me twice when I was an adult. Once when I was 19, I got a bad grade in one of my classes and he flipped out. He slapped me across the face and told me that that would teach me to do better. The second time was right after my 20th birthday. I had gotten into an argument with my mom that really wasn't such a big deal. My mom and I worked things out, but my dad thought it was inappropriate that I spoke to my mom like that. Was I very disrespectful? No. But to him, it was completely unacceptable. So he hit me once with his belt. My fiance is refusing to invite my parents to our wedding. And to be honest, I kind of agree with him. Ever since stepping away from my parents, I have so much more confidence. I'm also happier in my relationship because I'm getting to be myself. And I'm not afraid that anyone will punish me. But I do feel guilty. I want to reach out to my parents. I'm not sure. What should I do? Story time about how I caught my boyfriend cheating on me and I got him arrested. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. My boyfriend and I have only been together for 2 months. I'm gonna call him Rex. We live in a pretty small town and everybody knows that Rex is a player. He asked me out and I said yes because I always had a crush on him. After a few dates, he asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes under the condition that he was totally monogamous. And he said of course. A few weeks into the relationship, I noticed that he was always hiding his phone from me. And whenever he would put his phone on a table, he would flip the screen side down. Of course, this had me on high alert. One night we went out with friends and I made sure that he got super drunk. I took advantage and went through all of his Instagram DMs. And of course he had been talking to about 30 girls. And I knew some of these girls and they knew that we were together. He had even set up a date with one of the girls for the following day at a bar. And you better believe that I was gonna catch him red-handed. I show up to the bar and I don't see them. I go back to the parking lot and there he is in his car making out with this girl. I knock on the window. Part 2 is my boyfriend is in his car making out with another girl. I caught them red-handed. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. My boyfriend Rex quickly puts on his shirt and the other girl puts on her shirt too. I try to open the door but it's locked. And to my surprise, my boyfriend gets mad at me and asks me what I'm doing there. So of course I say to him, what are you doing here? That's when he finally gets out of the car and he tells the other girl to stay in the car. I told him that he had promised to be monogamous. That's when he said that I was crazy and that he had never promised that, and that he had no intention to be serious with me. Then he said that I made that entire conversation up in my head. And then he told me to leave. I was so shocked. I couldn't believe what he had just said to me. The girl gets out of the car and she actually apologizes to me. And she told me that Rex had told her that he was single. Then Rex lunges at her, starts pulling her hair, and pushes her to the ground. Part 3 is my boyfriend lunges at the girl that I just caught him cheating on me with. He starts pulling her hair and pushes her to the ground. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. Tried to get him to stop and I pulled his arm. Then he turns around and starts chasing me. I run back into the bar and 2 guys stop him. I called the cops right away and they came and arrested him. Later on that day, he asked me to bail him out and I said no. Everybody knows what he did. The other girl is trying to press charges and my dad wants me to get a restraining order. But I'm still in love with him and I don't want to get him in any more trouble. I even want to take him back, but I know I shouldn't, right?